So it all comes down to this. Lewis Hamilton, Fernando Alonso and Kimi Raikkonen. A season in one day. 3 men, 71 laps. A world championship for one of them at the end of it all. This is not just a supreme test of skill, it's a supreme test of nerve as well. This is the decisive moment. It is wide open. It's been such a great season. It is set up perfectly for the final Grand Prix of 2007. Go!
Oh, he's gone way too deep.
Oh no! Lewis Hamilton's in trouble! It's heartbreak for Hamilton. Kimi Raikkonen is world champion of 2007.
An Australian Grand Prix that was going to answer so many questions, not least with the excitement and the extraordinary competition we saw at the end of the 2007 season extend into the start of 2008 as Kimi Raikkonen began the defence of a World Championship title that he claimed by a single point from the extraordinary Lewis Hamilton. So welcome to our highlights of this Australian Grand Prix, a season that began with significant technical changes. No traction control or engine braking systems for the drivers, and greater questions would be asked of the men behind the wheel. And significant driver changes as well. Fernando Alonso returning to the Renault team where he won back-to-back World Championship titles. Heikki Kovalainen joining Lewis Hamilton in what seemed to be a far more cordial partnership at McLaren. But things were unchanged at Ferrari. Felipe Massa still alongside the world champion Kimi Raikkonen. Well, James Allen and Martin Brundle will describe the story of this Australian Grand Prix, but here's how they lined up on the grid.
And so the grid for the Australian Grand Prix, and it's the youngest ever front row. Hamilton and Kubica, just 23 years of age. That's a career best second for Kubica. Same story for Heikki Kovalainen in third, who has Felipe Massa alongside him in the Ferrari. Row 3, Nick Heidfeld and Jarno Trulli in the Toyota. Row 4, Nico Rosberg in the Williams and David Coulthard in the Red Bull. Sebastian Vettel in the top 10 again. He has Rubens Barrichello alongside him on row 5. Outside the top 10, Fernando Alonso, Jenson Button is 12. Nakajima and Webber make up row 7. Reigning world champion Raikkonen had a fuel pump problem, he's 15th. Fisichella alongside him in 16th. Frenchman Sebastian Bourdais and Adrian Sutil make up row 9. Glock and Sato make up row 10. At the back of the grid, Piquet, who qualifies exactly where his dad did for his first Grand Prix, and Anthony Davidson.
One of the key regulation changes for 2008 is the loss of traction control. And on the start line, it will have a significant effect. Now the drivers must control and modulate the wheel spin. The difference between an ordinary start and a great start could be as much as 50 metres this year. And we're going to see a lot more movement on the grid and down to the first corner. Last year, when we saw Lewis Hamilton excelling into the first corner of his first Grand Prix, it was then a bit of a software engineer's race down to that first corner and braking point. But there's still a great opportunity to make up places, if you're brave, that is. Your front tyres are cold, your brakes are not up to full operating temperature. It's hero and zero stuff. Get it right, you look fantastic. Get it wrong, lose a wheel, lose the front wing, or cause the race to be stopped. This year, no rushing back for a spare car. They're not available anymore.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Albert Park in Melbourne. The start of a new Formula One season is always a magical moment. After 8 months of working flat out to design and develop their cars, the teams put them on the track here in Melbourne, and this is where they find out where they are relative to the opposition and what kind of season they're likely to have. It's stiflingly, pitilessly hot here. You know the procedure: when the 5 lights go off, the 2008 World Championship will be underway. And it's go in Australia! Cracking start, someone stalled at the back. Lewis Hamilton's got a good start. Kubica looks electric on the run down to the first corner, but Hamilton goes defensive and bucks him out. Kubica is right up his gearbox though, and Kovalainen, I think, and Massa were very close to each other. Where is Felipe Massa? Can't see him at the moment. There was contact further back as well, but Kovalainen, there is Massa. Seems to have dropped some ground.
Dropped a huge amount of ground. I think there was a Toro Rosso pointing in the wrong direction too in the first turn. Massa squabbling there with a Red Bull. And
that's Kimi Räikkönen. Massa is nowhere to be seen. I saw him getting very close to Kovalainen into that turn one. And as we predicted, a tremendous difference in the quality of their starts. Hamilton leads, Kubica second, Kovalainen third, Rosberg fourth. Felipe Massa is yet to appear. He's not in the top 16. And the safety car, well, I told you about the safety car and the chances of it being deployed. It's already out on the first lap here. Lewis Hamilton leads it then from Kubica, Kovalainen, Rosberg. Heidfeld is in 5th place, Trulli 6th. Barrichello is up to 7th in the Honda. Kimi Räikkönen's had an amazing start. From 15th on the grid, he is now 8th, and he could well be a danger man for Hamilton from there. Alonso 9th, Coulthard 10th, and Felipe Massa, Martin, is in 17th place.
Yeah, PK up to 12th from the back of the grid. There's Davidson, who I believe was in contact with the Toro Rosso, possibly of Bourdais. Webber also with left rear damage, coasting back. We've got a Honda there of Jenson Button, isn't it? Button's Honda, so 3 cars then have made contact. We've got Vettel and Fisichella out of the Grand Prix. So it was Vettel's Toro Rosso we saw in the background. Coulthard had a poor start. He's back down to 10. But this is very, very significant for Kimi Räikkönen. He will be so heavily fueled, James, won't he? In terms of with that grid position. The only thing it could have done is given him a sensible amount of fuel. He's in a great position there in 8th now. And Massa clearly with a damaged nose.
I'd very much like to see a replay of what happened between Heikki Kovalainen and Felipe Massa, because I fancy we'll be hearing quite a bit about it afterwards. In comes Massa then, with that damaged nose cone. Is there any other damage to the car? Let's have a look. Mechanics go to work.
Putting soft tyres back on it, I noticed. I half wondered if they would swap to the harder rubber, but they're running that soft tyre because they like it, obviously.
New nose goes on. We're under safety car conditions, remember.
Oh,
and released into the path of Nakajima. That was a bit dicey. Good job they weren't racing, but Nakajima obviously involved in an incident as well. We've got a car being carried off. That's Giancarlo Fisichella's Force India car. Let's have another look.
Now, Hamilton got away well. Kubica came across to cover him. Hamilton responded to that. Most cars getting away reasonably well, and there it is. It's Kovalainen on the outside, and just the merest tag by the looks of it, and it's all going off behind. That Force India almost went over in the gravel trap, and I think it's going to be just a slight tag with his left front wing on the... No, it's... In fact, I think he just dropped... He either got a push from behind or he just plain dropped it.
He looked like he wanted to avoid Kovalainen though, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Let's take another angle. So he never actually touched Kovalainen at all. The damage was done against the barrier. He dropped it by himself. That's the traction control. There is the flying Force India that oh so nearly goes over with Fisichella on board. Behind it all goes off. Somehow Vettel got caught up in that. And Kimi Räikkönen way down the outside of turn 3. I tried that once and ended up upside down about 10 times. But look at that, he's going past, he's got pinned Coulthard up against the curb and turn 4, gets the high ground for the turn into 5, and that's the sort of progress that Kimi Räikkönen was making. And the unluckiest man in Formula 1, without any doubt, Mark Webber, parked in the pits out of his home Grand Prix. So 4 drivers then showing is retired at the moment. Webber, Button, Davidson, Vettel and Fisichella. We're off again.
Safety car into the pit lane and restart here in Melbourne, led by Lewis Hamilton. Robert Kubica is second, Kovalainen's third, fourth is Rosberg. Terrific for him, what a great platform for him to do something here this afternoon, and we believe he is carrying a very significant fuel load as well. So if he can keep Heidfeld behind him for a while, he'll be doing well. That BMW's look very racy. Who's behind them is Räikkönen up to 7th now. Barrichello up to 6th in the Honda. So the form book turned on its head really yesterday in qualifying and here in the race as well. A very different picture from the one imagined by many people before the start of this season. Here comes Massa, unable to refuel the previous time. Did change his nose cone and on he goes again.
Yes, you're not allowed to refuel. You're allowed to repair accident damage. You're not allowed to refuel under safety car conditions. And Louise has found Giancarlo Fisichella.
Giancarlo, that looked like pretty hairy stuff.
Yeah, I don't know, came across my right-hand side like a kamikaze, and he pushed me out, that's all.
Was this an incident that would have happened with all of the drive racing that you had previously, or do you think it's down to not having them this season?
No, I don't think so. It's just because somebody was too aggressive at the first corner, you know.
Thanks, Giancarlo.
But I think the difference is, and it's how it always used to be, and they're going to have to recalibrate. But you've got cars moving back through the pack because they didn't get away well. Others who got away beautifully moving forward through the pack, and they meet in the middle like that. They'll just have to adjust their tactics.
23-year-old Lewis Hamilton from Stevenage leading the Grand Prix then. He led, of course, here in Australia briefly last year after a stellar start. Eventually finished in 3rd place. Would love to start the 2008 championship with a win. And this is a look at Anthony Davidson and what happened to him in the Super Aguri. His teammate Takuma Sato there just behind him, and that's all it took to break the front left suspension of Anthony Davidson's car.
And there's where Mark Webber is at the moment, and that's how his left rear got damaged. Just the merest touches. Normally the suspension is beefy enough to cope with, not with that going into the wall, but with the sort of tag that Mark Webber had there, where they had a problem earlier on. They're clearly still working on the Red Bull.
We expect Hamilton to stop twice this afternoon, the first time around about lap 20 or 21. So that's your top 8 at the moment. Hamilton, Kubica, Kovalainen, Rosberg, Heidfeld, Trulli, Barrichello and Raikkonen in the early stages here. We're riding on board with the reigning world champion, Kimi Raikkonen, in the Ferrari. Started 15th, took advantage of the chaos at the start to jump up into 8th place, but he's not made a lot of progress since then, and he is now 20 seconds behind race leader Lewis Hamilton, who's just turned the fastest lap of the race in a 1:28.1. That's 1.3 seconds faster than Kubica, and the performance of Kubica's tyres would appear to be going off a bit on the BMW.
Kovalainen in the second McLaren closing in on Kubica's BMW now. Lewis Hamilton in a class of 1 up the front. He's a full second quicker than just about anybody else out there. And Rosberg appears, no, he dropped off the computer momentarily, did Nico Rosberg. But he looked like he was falling down the pack, but he's not. He's still in 4th place. So it's Hamilton, Kubica, Kovalainen, Rosberg, Heidfeld, Trulli in 6th, Barrichello 7th, and Raikkonen just 4 tenths behind, needing urgently to clear that Honda.
Lap 16 of the Australian Grand Prix, the opening round of the 2008 Formula One World Championship, and Lewis Hamilton from pole position is leading this race by over 11 seconds, and truly he is in a class of his own. Robert Kubica, the BMW driver, is in 2nd place. Looks like he's getting ready for his first pit stop of the day. This is lap 16. Heikki Kovalainen has been biding his time in 3rd place in the second of the McLarens. He's just over a second behind Kubica at the moment, with Rosberg, Nico Rosberg in the Williams, having a fantastic drive in 4th place. And his team boss, Sir Frank Williams, I know, is watching this one from home in Oxfordshire, and I bet he's on the edge of his seat, really, just clinging on, hoping that Rosberg can get a good strong finish here, possibly even a podium, the way he's driving at the moment. Into the pit lane comes Robert Kubica.
Just 80 kilometers per hour, 50 miles per hour, still looks pretty quick as he heads into a garage made up of his own men, fuel rig, 2 jacks, another set of tyres ready to go on. They'll clean out the radiator ducts. Well, as soon as the refueling is finished, the lollipop will go up, and wow, that was absolutely on the button to get away. And can he get ahead then of, no he can't, of Barrichello and Raikkonen, and that is going to cause him a problem with the pace that we're expecting Kubica to have out there now on a fresh set of tyres. And look at this, Raikkonen very close now. Barrichello defending on the inside. Raikkonen surely can't go around the outside. Can he double back inside? And oh, that's going to end up with a broken front wing if you try that one. He thought better of it, and again begins to slip back. Good driving from both drivers, but it didn't result in anything close to an overtake. We understand this pit stop is for Lewis. Indeed it is. He hits the line and brings the car down to exactly 50 miles per hour.
Couple of laps earlier than we expected, Ted Kravitz.
And here he goes. Yeah, but it is still going to be a two-stop as he mirrors the stop of Robert Kubica, which took that 8.6 seconds, which it looks like he is. The McLaren boys very steady. That's just above 9 seconds. So a standard two-stop there, and he's gone out back again on the hard tyres. That's working for McLaren well.
Ted, could you see whether they were new tyres or ones that had been scrubbed?
They were brand new tyres, James. Brand new tyres.
Just comes out, just misses the BMW of Nick Heidfeld, who was in 4th place and now is up into 3rd. So Hamilton slots back in 4th.
Well, we have to assume he had to come in the pits for fuel, because otherwise I think they would have left him out a couple more laps so he could have cleared those 2 cars. He'll have to go through a graining phase again. They look remarkably as if they've been scrubbed to me, but anyway, they'll be effectively a brand new set of tyres, and he's got to get up and running. He had a lead of the thick end of 15 seconds, and as that Kimi is past Rubens Barrichello, it would have been down into turn 3. It's Kimi in turn 5 now. He's got to get on with it, because his afternoon started brilliantly. He made up so many places off the line, 7 places off the line, and now he's been neutralised through the next 18 laps. He can now recover a lot of that space.
He's 15 seconds behind Lewis Hamilton, who's already made his first stop, and this is how he did it.
He's a long way behind at the moment, and picked up a great slipstream, and Rubens gave him just enough room, but didn't go as defensive, did he? It's almost as if Rubens was thinking, I need to let this guy by now. It's costing me time as well, and he'll get past me eventually. I may as well let him go. That's got that sort of hallmark on it as far as I'm concerned.
There's another look of it. Down the inside goes the reigning world champion on a recovery drive from 15th place on the grid.
As Jarno Trulli pits for Toyota.
Was in 6th place.
Something going on inside the car there. Steering wheel is changed.
Oh, he's not happy. Poor old Jarno. He was driving very well in the top 6 for Toyota, and he's had to pop out of the car. Meanwhile, here's Massa and Sato, take 2. And he gets him through turn 14. And a clean pass for Massa puts him up into 12th place. Just to let you know what's happening outside of the top 8. You've got David Coulthard in 8th place. Alonso, the 2-time world champion, on his return drive to Renault, is in 9th. Timo Glock is 10th. Massa 11th. Sato 12th. Nakajima 13th. Jarno Trulli in the pits. That means that Nelson Piquet in the Renault is 14th. And Sebastian Bourdais on his debut is 15th. Big moment then in the race. Here comes race leader Heikki Kovalainen for his first ever McLaren pit stop. And also worth paying attention to is the fact that Raikkonen is now in 3rd place. Scrub tyres going on to Kovalainen's car. I do wonder whether Hamilton's got scrubbed on as well. And meanwhile, Hamilton is losing time at the moment. He's losing half a second a lap to Raikkonen. I said a few laps ago it was 15 seconds the gap after Raikkonen got past Barrichello. It's now down to 11 seconds between Hamilton and Raikkonen. 36 laps to go here at Albert Park. A lot of racing still to happen.
2 Finns line astern then now, having pitted for the first time, is Kovalainen, and immediately behind him is Kimi Raikkonen, who's absolutely flying immediately onto the leader's pace. And of course we know he's going to be fueled quite heavily, making those soft tyres work. That Ferrari has got the pace we were expecting pre-season. They've just had a miserable weekend.
Jarno Trulli was out of the race, and Louise Goodman's found him.
Yeah, he's walked out to the back of the garage. So let's find out what was the problem. Jarno, we saw you kind of fiddling with the steering wheel. What was the issue?
Basically, from the start of the race, the battery started heating up. It was really, really hot under my knee. And then the time when I stopped, the car just stalled, the engine stalled, and there was no more battery.
On a positive note, though, this car is looking a lot stronger than last season, for definite, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a shame that we lose points like that. Unfortunately, the car is better than last year's
makes
car.
massive contact there with David Coulthard. A huge incident there into turn 1 as the Ferrari driver tried to go past the Red Bull driver.
Yeah, we'll have to see from how far he came back. It looked to me as if Massa was within striking distance of the overtake. Does he have left front suspension problems? Well, it's hanging on with plenty of G-force through turn 5 there. It'll go under braking if there's a lot of damage. I think it's just general movement going on. It does look a bit wobbly. Certainly more than a bit of general movement going on with David Coulthard's car. A lot of debris on the racetrack. And
second safety car of the afternoon deployed for David Coulthard's accident and the debris on the track here, and I wonder if that's going to advantage anybody. Raikkonen can make a pit stop under safety car conditions here. That could be quite interesting. Let's take another look at it.
Yeah, I think that Felipe will feel that he had the high ground there, that he had the right to stay on the inside of the corner. DC quite clearly didn't know he was there. Your peripheral vision in these cars is very poor, and clearly hadn't spotted that Massa was coming up the inside of him at quite the rate that he was. But I don't believe Massa was wrong in holding his ground there.
This puts Raikkonen right back into the race. He'll be able to pit under the safety car. It could be a major turning point for the Grand Prix. He's got to wait until the pit lane is open, of course, which it isn't, which is why that little moment of confusion there for Raikkonen, thinking he could go in and being told in no uncertain terms that he can't until race control says the pit lane is open. We're under safety car conditions then here. Lewis Hamilton leads, Kovalainen second and Raikkonen third. The restart then on lap 30 here, and in fact that's exactly what Kovalainen is doing. Raikkonen comes down on the attack. He has a much lighter car than Kovalainen. He tries to go around the outside, and he'd been trying to pass him for a few laps before the safety car was deployed. He saw the restart as an opportunity, but so far Kovalainen has denied him. The green flag's waving down the inside.
Oh,
goes Raikkonen, but he's overcooked it. The world champion is in the gravel trap.
What is going on for Ferrari today? That's another disaster for them. And Raikkonen looked like he was about 50 metres too late on the brakes. Kovalainen suddenly opened the door for him. Raikkonen took it, but he was just too hot as he went in there. And luckily, no particular damage, but it's put Raikkonen once again at the back of the pack. There's now absolutely no reason for him not to refuel. Look, he caught Kovalainen out, but he was just way too fast. So lucky not to just rumble across that gravel and take the nose off against the safety barrier. Here we go. Oh yeah, way too deep, way too deep. That was never going to stop in a month of Sundays.
Yeah, well, they don't have the engine braking facility as well. That's another driver aid that's been taken off them.
He needed an anchor to stop that.
He would have needed a sail to go out, as you say, to slow him down. Meanwhile, Massa in the other Ferrari, compounding that team's misery. He's pulling off to the side of the racetrack. Maybe he doesn't like the feel of that left front suspension after he whacked David Coulthard. Well, in comes Raikkonen.
They're recovering that car under double waved yellows, which means slow down, even be prepared to stop. There are men on the racetrack, and we saw a little tow truck going on as well. Beautiful overhead shot of the Ferrari. What are they waiting for? That's a lot of fuel going in there, then clearly to the end of the Grand Prix. Now Raikkonen's got to do it all over again. What he could do with right now is the safety car to have to come out to clear that his sister car away, to clear Massa's car away, but they're towing it under double waved yellows. Whoa. Alonso wide in turn 12 as well. There's a little bit of AstroTurf in there, which of course we saw Kubica on in qualifying.
So as predicted, the getting rid of traction control and driver aids by putting a common electronic control unit in all the cars. Basically, if they've all got the same electronic control unit, then there's absolutely no way they can cheat and get traction control through the back door. And it's taken a long time for the FIA and its president, Max Mosley, to drive that one through. But we've now got it in Formula One, and you can see for yourself the outcome. Drivers are making mistakes. The cars are much more difficult to control. And, well, it's certainly pretty spectacular to watch. Back on board with Raikkonen. This continuing scrap with Glock over 10.
Well, he's a little bit closer now. If he can just hook that apex up there, he's closer than he was. Got an attack on the way into this last corner despite the turbulent air. And Glock's got better traction off that corner than the Ferrari. So, down into turn one. Can he have a go? Glock's keeping an eye on him, but nowhere near close enough. Kimi needs good exit here to have a chance down into his least favourite turn three. He is closer. Surely this time he will just pounce down the inside. He won't. He's going to lose it. Stick a wheel on the grass. What's he doing out there? The anti-stall kicks in. He selects first gear and off he goes. That's two errors then today. Two critical errors from the current world champion.
Well, there you go. Two mistakes into the pits comes Lewis Hamilton, the race leader, for his second scheduled fuel and tyre stop. 16 laps to go then. He's going to switch on to the softer of the two Bridgestone compounds, the least favoured one. Let's see what kind of performance he gets out of him. But the real danger man, as far as he was concerned, was, of course, was Raikkonen earlier on. He was taken out of the situation. He's now just taken him out of the situation, himself out of the situation even further. Heidfeld is catching Kovalainen there up front. Kovalainen leading again. There is Barrichello, who comes, Hamilton comes out just behind him. So he rejoins in 4th place then, Lewis Hamilton, with Heidfeld and Kovalainen and Barrichello still to pit.
Yeah, Lewis hasn't got this in the bag yet. If he goes and gets any kind of graining phase here, because Heidfeld and Kovalainen were keeping him very honest just before that pit stop, and the gap was yo-yoing around, but still gradually coming down. And that's Raikkonen in front of Glock then, surely.
No, he's raging, I think, trying to catch him up again.
No, sorry, of course.
So much time with this incident here. Just look.
I think he took his eye off the ball, and I don't know why Glock opened the door for him, and I think because Kimi had that disaster up against Kovalainen. Look, he could have. He's just gone wide. I think his eye was on the apex, stuck the left rear on the grass, and it swapped ends.
Kovalainen leading for the 2nd time in this Grand Prix, and Nick Heidfeld in the BMW comes in from 2nd place. BMW looking for their 3rd podium as a constructor in Formula 1. They had a couple last year.
Been a good performance from Heidfeld. Nobody coming down the pit lane this time, and away he goes.
Oh, enormous shunt for Timo Glock in the Toyota. That's certain to bring out the safety car again. There is debris all over the track, and Timo Glock on his first run for Toyota has gone off in the most massive way.
Safety car deployed, and Glock looking as if he took a bit of a whack there, but probably also on the radio. But no, I think I suspect it's the exit of turn 12, isn't it? The fast chicane where he's dropped the Toyota, probably 140, 150 miles an hour. Safety car deployed. Nobody can pit at this time until the message comes up on everybody's computer board, and they'll pick up whoever they can first and then release the other cars until they unlap themselves. This, to an extent, plays back into Raikkonen's hands.
Well, it does, but I tell you what, there'll be a few people. This is absolutely prime 2nd stop kind of window. There'll be a few people out there who might be getting a bit marginal on fuel, and we'll hope that the pit lane opens before too long. Of course, we have had a few laps under the safety car in this Grand Prix in which they can save some fuel, but looks to me as though Timo Glock is certainly winded. There you go, exactly as you predicted, off at turn 12, almost catches some air, does catch some air, and, well, he certainly have felt that.
So he hasn't really connected with the wall in any major way. It was the landing. You've got to remember, the drivers sit on the floor of the cars. There's absolutely no suspension under their backside or cushioning at all. And that service road launched the car. It really shouldn't be able to do that. And it was, you know what that tends to do is compress your spine, your lower back, or damage just on the back of your neck. So Glock walking away, but he will be winded.
Great to see then, Timo Glock, the reigning oh no! A disaster in the pit stops for Honda, and Barrichello pulls down the refueling man. Almost took the rig with him. We've seen some big problems in the past when that happens. A mix-up then in the Honda pits, and there's an injury. Hope it's not too severe to one of the mechanics there. But they're all looking after each other.
He's not even allowed in the pits at the moment to refuel unless he's allowed to come in and change damage, but they shouldn't be in the pits.
Absolutely right. Yep, there was no sign on our monitors from race control. Let's take a look at what happened again. Yeah, the lollipop was lifted. The fuel hose was still connected. So big mistake there by the man holding the lollipop at the front. Barrichello did as instructed. And, well, the rest you saw for yourselves. Ted Kravitz has some news.
James, it was the lesser of two evils for Rubens Barrichello and his engineer, Jock Clear. Have him run out of fuel on the track, because that's what would have happened, or bring him in, give him the fuel, and then let him serve the penalty. At least that way, he's still in the race, and you never know, with this kind of count, he might actually end up getting some points. But a big sigh of relief at McLaren and at Renault, because they could have had the same fate. But Kovalainen, who's in right now, and Fernando Alonso have managed to save enough fuel and make it to the pit lane open.
Yeah, but it's a disaster for them, because it's put them at the back of the crocodile behind the safety car. Hamilton just got in and out in time. Kovalainen couldn't pit. The pit lane wasn't available to him, nor could Alonso. So that has hurt Kovalainen badly, surely.
Yeah, a little bit slow away for Fernando Alonso, and this is, yeah, really unfortunate, as you say, for Heikki Kovalainen. Was running a very solid second place here, but now he's dropped to the back of the Crocodile behind the safety car, and he rejoins in 9th place. That puts Raikkonen up into a single points paying position, 8th. So the order then, as we get ready for the restart here, after this is the 3rd safety car we've had at Albert Park. This one for a major accident involving Timo Glock. I'm delighted to say that he walked away from it, but his car was launched in the incident. Hamilton, Heidfeld, Barrichello, but of course we expect Barrichello to get a penalty. That could give Rosberg the chance of a podium here this afternoon in the Williams, and he'll thoroughly deserve it, because he was very strong in the opening part of this Grand Prix. For a safety car coming in this lap, Bourdais in his debut for Toro Rosso is showing us 5th. Kubica 6th for BMW. 7th, and on for his first World Championship points for Williams is Kazuki Nakajima, with Raikkonen in 8th place. And it's looking like a very good day indeed at the moment for Williams, with 11 laps to go.
Yeah, Kovalainen is out behind Raikkonen, of course, and Alonso. So Kovalainen and Alonso, as I said, at the back of the Crocodile now, behind the safety car, with an awful lot of... They've just lost track position because they couldn't pit. Hamilton then, the safety car's in this lap, so Hamilton becomes the de facto safety car to that extent, with Heidfeld just behind him. Barrichello, we know, will get a penalty. And, well, bad news for Heikki Kovalainen. But I can hear the cries now of, look, 3 safety cars, lots of incidents. The driver's going to say, because you've taken away our traction control. But I have to say, I'm not sure Glock's shunt was because of traction control. He dropped it on the exit at 12 there. May have been, but Coulthard's incident clearly was a normal racing incident.
Restart then for the 3rd time. The 10-second stop-and-go penalty for Barrichello. As we predicted, Hamilton leads them away. Heidfeld is in 2nd place. Barrichello crosses the line 3rd, but he'll have to come in and serve that penalty shortly. And that means that Nico Rosberg is on target for a podium here in the Williams. The 22-year-old, and his 3rd season in Formula One. Into the pit lane come Kubica and Nakajima to pit after the safety car. Well, they had some sort of contact there. Nakajima, oh no! He was on for some points, but you look, his front wings disappeared.
Yeah, they've been in. They were coming so slowly down the pit lane. There's clearly been a reasonably. How did they do both front ends? They're in different incidents, but it looks as if they've had a little shuffle into a corner, and Kubica appears he may have some other problems too.
Yeah, poor old Robert Kubica started from a career best 2nd on the grid, but it's all over for him with 10 laps to go.
This is Raikkonen and...
Alonso or Kovalainen. Alonso goes past Kovalainen for 7th place, but Raikkonen was holding 6th, so he's lost a couple of places there during the course of that lap. While we were looking at the incident in the pit lane, Raikkonen has gone from 6th to 8th. Into the pits comes Rubens Barrichello. That'll put Raikkonen up another place. Ron Meadows, the sporting director of Honda, on the stopwatch there, telling Alistair Gibson to let him go. And well, there's been a lot of going on here between these two.
I'd like to see
very
what
experienced drivers here. Alonso and Raikkonen, Kovalainen as well. Here's hopefully a look at it.
Yeah, okay, so Kovalainen then's getting held up. Is he going to go run wide down into 13? So he took a place, and that's where Alonso got past him. So they were passing, or trying to pass Bourdais. And there's the other incident then. There's the front wing of Nakajima going off. And it appeared to be almost unrelated to Kubica, doesn't it?
Let's have another look at this. Kovalainen. Oh, it's Nakajima just getting into the back of Kubica, exactly, at the restart.
Bourdais is 4th now for Toro Rosso, with Alonso, Kovalainen and Raikkonen. 2 of those 3 are world champions chasing him down in his first ever Grand Prix. He's kept his head, hasn't he? Hasn't had particularly stunning pace, but Bourdais is still there, helped by the safety car. But safety car racing in America has been his business, hasn't it?
Yeah, multiple champion over in America. He may be a rookie in Formula One, but he is 29 years old, Sébastien Bourdais. He's the oldest rookie in Formula One for about 15 years. And it's absolutely brilliant the way he's kept his head here at Albert Park. And he's really going to need his wits about him now, because he's got a two-time world champion and another world champion behind him. And they mean business. They've all lost the chance of big points here this afternoon. Alonso coming through from 11th on the grid is up into 5th. Raikkonen trying to make the best of a very bad day yesterday in qualifying. 15th on the grid, he's up into 7th at the moment. Barrichello has taken advantage of the incident involving Nakajima and Kubica, so he's back into 8th place, and he's the final runner, in fact. So we've only got 8 runners at the moment in this Grand Prix with 8 laps to go.
That's a limping, prancing horse, without doubt. Now, what are you going to do if you're Ferrari at this moment? If he retires from the race, he gets a free engine and gearbox change. He will not take any grid penalties. But he's currently going to score 2 World Championship points. We'll keep an eye on, well, Barrichello's 5 seconds a lap faster and only 18 seconds behind. So Barrichello will nail him.
You've got to have a legitimate reason for retiring, though, Martin, haven't you? Which you remember here a few years ago, Honda brought both cars in at the end of the first race of the season just to retire them because they weren't going to get any points anyway.
Yeah.
So you've actually got to have a problem before you can, mind you can always stick it in the wall, can't you, I suppose?
Well, I have to say that sounds a sufficient problem to me. I mean, I think there are 5,000 individual parts in those engines, and clearly one of them is not happy right now.
Back on board with Heikki Kovalainen in 6th place on his first outing with the McLaren team. He had a nightmare here last year on his Formula One debut with Renault. Off the road a couple of times en route to 10th place. This hasn't been plain sailing by any means for him.
That was all a bit scruffy through there for Heikki. Turned in too early to 4 and ran very wide.
Kimi Raikkonen finally rolls in. And, well, Melbourne is a town full of Italian immigrants. 8,000 Italians living here in Melbourne, most of them around the Lygon Street area. Many of them turn out every year, and boy, have they had some big days here with Michael Schumacher, Eddie Irvine winning races, and of course last year Kimi Raikkonen as well. But this year, nothing to smile about at all for the Italians in the crowd. It's been a disastrous opening to the 2008 championship for Ferrari, with both cars failing to score points, while their main rival Lewis Hamilton is 3 laps away from 10 laps and victory.
Well, I bet he wished he could have just there's the red light, so that's a replay from earlier on. I suspect that is because the safety car and the tail were coming into the pit straight, so Honda having a miserable time. And there's Bourdais slows.
Poor old Sébastien Bourdais, just 3 laps away from 5 World Championship points on his debut. The Toro Rosso has let him down. And, well, he must be absolutely gutted because he's driven his socks off today. And that means Alonso is up into 4th and Kovalainen is up to 5th. And will he have a go at the former world champion? There is Bourdais. A few well-chosen French swear words, no doubt, being said inside that helmet.
What's going on here? Kovalainen taking the long way round. Will he get a better drive out of the corner? And you're just about allowed to do that, Mr. Alonso, but it didn't do any good because Kovalainen makes it stick. How satisfying will that be?
Fantastic pass by the man who took the seat at McLaren of Fernando Alonso in this pretty much a straight swap between them.
Oh,
Alonso comes back at him, but Kovalainen's got problems. He didn't get drive out of the corner, and now Alonso's got the satisfaction. He takes the place back again. It looked like maybe you can't miss a gear with these modern systems, but what happened?
I don't know. These gearboxes change gear 50 times faster than you can blink your eye, and it looks like he suddenly had a box full of neutrals there. That was a bit of a cruel irony, wasn't it?
Meanwhile, Lewis Hamilton coming through, and the checkered flag, and well, Lewis Hamilton's driven absolutely beautifully. He takes his 5th career victory, the first for McLaren here since 2003. None of his main rivals have scored a point here this afternoon, and what a satisfying start to the season for Lewis Hamilton. 2nd is Nick Heidfeld, 3rd is Nico Rosberg. There is Nakajima, who will pick up a point for 7th. Alonso picks up 4th ahead of Heikki Kovalainen, who can't believe his bad luck after all that hard work getting in front of Alonso, only to lose it again. But it's the best possible start to the season for Lewis Hamilton.
Pole position, lights to flag victory. Faultless, under pressure, didn't quite make fastest lap. That went to Kovalainen in the sister McLaren, but really supreme. Handled the safety cars, absolutely no problem at all in all of the tricky conditions.
Well, he led the World Championship for most of last season, and he's already on top in 2008.
Fantastic job, guys. The car was incredible. The car was incredible. It was a breeze. Thank you very much.
Okay, Lewis, that's pretty good. Normal service has been resumed. Another 17 races like that, and be sweet. Well done. Great job.
It's been a spectacular day here at Albert Park, Melbourne. Most of the main rivals failed to pick up any major points. For Lewis Hamilton, it was a perfect 10. He's going to be very hard to beat in 2008.
I think without traction control and without the driver aids that we don't have this year, makes it a lot more demanding for the driver, physically, mentally, and so that's probably why you see that there was only 7 cars finished.
As a start for the season, it couldn't be better because our winter testing was difficult, especially the first test. We didn't expect to be that strong on our first race, but we think that there's a lot more potential in the car, so our target remains the same, to win a race this year.
To be honest, I went into the race with not wanting to take too many risks because it's the first race of the season and there's no point to exaggerate on anything, and that's worked well for me today.
It was very strange race with the safety cars and with all the accidents that we had. So, at the end, I think that, I took a little bit of advantage of everything and I finished 4th that maybe 10 laps to the end I was not expecting.
But this is only the first race, and the car itself was good when we were able to run our own. So I think so we have a good car, but not the ideal race here.
What about where this puts you and the team going into Malaysia just in 7 days' time?
Well, it puts us in a great position. This is where we wanted to be. Unfortunately, Heikki, I think, got caught with the safety car and still got points. So I think he's still done a great job this weekend. But he will continue to push me. But obviously we're going into Malaysia planning on winning that.
The winning start to the season that Lewis had been hoping for ever since the frustrations of Brazil 4 months ago. His expected main title challengers have struggled. Heidfeld and Rosberg complete the podium. Alonso settles for 4th. Kovalainen deserved better than 5th. Points for Nakajima and Bourdais, and Rubens Barrichello was excluded for exiting the pit lane under a red light, so Raikkonen was able to deliver a single point on a bad day for Ferrari. So Lewis is back on top of the World Championship battle, but most significantly for McLaren, they're allowed this season to keep the points they score in a Constructors' Championship that they were excluded from last year. And Mark Blundell, all in all, a very good weekend indeed for McLaren.
A fantastic weekend for McLaren, fantastic day for Lewis Hamilton, outstanding drive. Didn't put a foot wrong from start to finish, a great drive with great maturity.
He seemed in control throughout. The only pressure he seemed to come under was at the start from Robert Kubica, who was quite forceful from alongside him.
Yeah, he was indeed, but I think Lewis Hamilton again just takes his normal defensive line, leads into turn 1, and just lets everybody else create the melee behind, and it's exactly what it was there at the back of the grid. A couple of the cars climbing over each other, some of the guys getting put out very early on. This here is a classic mistake by Felipe Massa. Just gets a little bit too tight into turn 1, steps into the throttle, hasn't got the traction control to save him anymore. There's clear air between those two cars. They don't touch, he just makes a simple driving error. And you can see the other errors at the back of the pack there, and a couple of the guys already out by turn 1.
And that, with Massa, was really where the day started to go really wrong for Ferrari. It got worse when Massa came together with David Coulthard.
It did indeed, but I think this is really a classic racing incident. Just going into turn one there, I think Felipe Massa tried to slip down the inside. To be fair to David Coulthard, I don't think they've got great visibility with these modern-day Grand Prix cars. He didn't really see him. I think if DC watched this in reflection, he'll maybe think he could have given a little bit more room to Massa. Massa was committed to the move, and there was nothing they could do other than collide with each other. Unfortunate.
Raikkonen was making a bit of a charge from the back. He gave us an indication of the sort of pace we might see during the course of the season from the Ferrari, but he was making mistakes.
He made a terrible mistake here. He just got the car in front of him and just checked up, and he went way in too deep, just much too much speed. Lucky he didn't get the wall, actually, and create a bigger problem for himself. Again, another result of driver error here. He just put the left rear onto the grass, just turned himself round there. No traction control again, no engine braking. I think just catching out the guys, whether they were inexperienced or experienced world champs.
So what sort of confidence and what sort of advantage will Lewis and McLaren now take on to next weekend in Malaysia?
I think they take a huge amount of confidence into the next race. They know their car's reliable. A lot of the contenders aren't, and they go in with already a race under their belt, and it's a great way to start the championship. 17 more Grand Prix for Lewis, and at this moment I think he's got 17 great opportunities.
Wonderful start to the season then for Lewis Hamilton. Victory here in Australia. Just before we go, here's your first chance this season at our ITV F1 competition.
To kick off the season, we're giving you the chance to win the ultimate VIP Formula One experience at this year's British Grand Prix, taking place at Silverstone from the 4th to the 6th of July. You and a friend will get grandstand tickets for all 3 days of the 2008 Formula One Santander British Grand Prix. You'll also get VIP hospitality for the big race on Sunday and get to rub shoulders with some of the biggest names in motorsport in Silverstone's Drivers' Lounge at Cops. You'll also have 2 nights in a hotel near the circuit and a helicopter flight around Silverstone, offering the ultimate bird's-eye view of the world-famous Grand Prix circuit. To be in with a chance of winning, you must answer this question correctly. Which of these is a corner at Silverstone? Is it A, Eau Rouge, B, Stowe, or C, Ferradura? To enter, call 0901 293 2020. Calls cost £1 from BT landlines. Calls from mobiles and other networks may be higher. Or you can text the word F1 and your answer, A, B or C, to 63337. Text costs £1 plus 1 standard network rate reply message. Digital satellite and cable viewers can enter by pressing their red button now. You can also enter for free at itv.com. Entrants must be 18 or over, and lines close at 5 p.m. this coming Tuesday. So best of luck. Entries made after the closing time won't be counted but may still be charged.
So that's Silverstone in July. Our next stop is Kuala Lumpur next weekend, and we'll have live coverage of qualifying for the Malaysian Grand Prix at 5:15 on Saturday morning, replayed later in the day, and live race coverage from 6:15 on Sunday morning, once again replayed later on. And already some famous names out on the grid have some catching up to do, because Lewis Hamilton here in Melbourne has been a very impressive winner of the Australian Grand Prix.